So everyone wants to know how to start a successful clothing brand, but they don't know how to start, or even if they already have a brand, they don't know how to scale it. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to find your target audience, how exactly these brands made millions of dollars, and the strategy behind their success. And no, you don't need to have thousands of dollars in ad spend to get started. So this first brand had honestly no clue on what it took to grow a clothing brand, let alone a business. There were 3 of them starting this brand, which I think is honestly a nice number to start a company with. I like the 2 to 3 founders versus the solo business owner, because you need someone to be the yin to your yang, or the left brain to the right brain. You need that balance. Do not hire someone who is thinking the exact same way as you. Don't let that be your founder. Don't let them be the person who just says yes all of the time. You really need some counterbalance. So this first brand is located in a small town in the great Lone Star State, and their goal was growth, I think like most of you guys, but they wanted to know, or they didn't know rather, what to do, how to create content, and never set up an ad at all. Like literally had never done anything. So maybe that's where you're starting. Or maybe you've created tons of ads. I think you'll still find some value here. What you'll see for this brand and with the other 2 as well is that they knew their audience really well and had it extremely dialed in. Finding a niche market and serving them is where the money is made. You know this, I'm not telling you anything new, but what you're probably doing is still chasing after everyone, okay? So maybe this sounds like you, okay? You're probably still like, well,
men and women. I'll probably still sell to men and women from my store.
Or they could, right? Maybe I'll sell to men, maybe I'll sell to women, maybe I can do both, right? I haven't really dialed in who exactly my audience is. Or I need to be in all of the places: Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, TikTok, Snapchat. I need to be in all of these places, right? Maybe that's you. This is a made up fantasy, and it is one that will cost you not only hundreds of hours, but millions of dollars. Let me explain to you why. So the fastest way to somewhere, anywhere, is still a straight line. Businesses will get complicated all on their own, and if you complicate it from the beginning, it will be even harder and almost impossible to grow later. To give context, this brand, this first brand that I'm talking about, posts 1 to 2 stories per day on Instagram, maybe once per day on Facebook, and once per day on Instagram. So like, this is now after they're doing $100,000 months. They weren't even doing this in the beginning days. They decided where they were going to put the time and energy and did literally just went for it. So this is the last 30 days. And honestly, compared to the previous year, it's up almost 200%. They never did close to $1 million before at all. They just started the brand really, I think, in December of last year, and then had a little bit of sales because of Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But let's look into some specifics here, okay? So point of sale, I'm not really counting this, okay? That's brick and mortar. It's not really what we're focusing on here. You can do some things. Maybe there'll be some videos in the future we talk about with brick and mortar. But online store sessions, right? We actually had 30,000 people to the site to make $100,000. First thing that people always run into issue-wise is that they think that they can just drive sales without driving traffic, right? The number 1 thing is to have a good website. The second thing that you need is traffic. More traffic equals more sales. Another thing I want to look at is the conversion rate on the site. Do you have products in stock? So whether you're a streetwear brand or a boutique, if you don't have the right size or the right color that the people are looking for, then you're going to have a really bad conversion rate. This conversion rate is high because most of these sales are driven from Facebook ads. It's very simple. What they've done though is they've taken that DCT, or the dynamic creative ad, which a little bit more about that later in the video. They've taken that ad, they've driven traffic to the site, but the products that were shown were products that were in stock. That's all they did. They bought deep. So many boutiques mess this up. Streetwear brands are a little bit more of an advantage, but they also, I think the mistake streetwear brands make is they think that they have to have a ton of products to make them look legitimate, when really you do not. And then boutiques, what they do is they have to have so many products too, and then only buy like 1 or 2 packs of each size, and then they sell out, and then they can't run an ad. The success here was buy deep, not wide, and you always hear that, but you want to make sure that you look like somebody else. Again, you do not have to be everywhere to everyone. You do not have to have a ton of different types of products. You do need variety, but you don't need thousands of products to prove that you're a legitimate brand. This is proof, right? Hopefully, like I said, I'm showing you now that in the last 30 days, we've made 105,000, 146 total, 105,000 online from a brand that went deep, not wide. Okay, eventually we will do both, but that's not the point here, right? You can get to 7 figures without doing it. One other number to look at, average order value. If you get the same amount of people to the site, but they only spend $50, which is pretty much the custom or standard average order value, you're gonna make a lot less money. We're $40 above that. Multiplied by 1,500 orders, it's a good chunk of revenue that we were able to generate, okay? So 3 factors here: traffic to the site, average order value, what can we do to bundle things together? We use apps like Vitals, you can use one-click upsell, there's Monster Upsell, whatever it is, right? If one thing is bought together, offer a second or third, get them to buy more on that first time purchase. And then the conversion rate. Show in the ad who the ad is for, and then have that product available. It seems simple, but that's exactly what they did here. And then one other factor, returning customer rate. We're about 49%. I'd love it to be a little bit lower than this. I'd like to be like the 60-40, 60% new, 40% return. But again, this is a new-ish business, very infant stage. So they're gonna have a lot of return customers, thank goodness, because that's how you grow a brand. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but they did something very, very simple here. They drove traffic to the site. They increased the average order value, focused on conversion rate. People mess up conversion rates because of trust. A great way to add trust back into a brand is either having some kind of social proof, some kind of PR release, anything, reviews. All of those things are going to add proof. Have the product in stock, please. Do not screw people on shipping. This brand does offer free shipping, so that's less of a friction here to cause an issue, and that conversion rate goes up. Granted, was this in one of the busiest times of the year? Absolutely. But we can go back to not the busiest times of the year, and we can still see that we're up 350,000, 3%. The numbers stay true. Actually, average order value went down, honestly. But the numbers stay true to what was said here. So I just wanted to give a kind of a full picture of what's involved here with this brand. Why were they successful here? Brands are made in repeat customers, not in the initial purchase. The next brand is the true testament that if you take care of your customers, you will go far. The strategy is simple. Honestly, there's only 2 ways to generate more revenue, right? Get more people to buy the first time and buy more of it. So they buy the first time and then buy more, right? Like we just talked about with the average order value being 90, like get them to buy more. And the second option is to get people to come back and buy again, and that is what I prefer. I don't like to really focus on new customer acquisition. I don't care, because those who can spend the most to acquire a customer will always win. And you can spend the most even against bigger companies if you know what the lifetime value of your customer is. So if you know that somebody is going to, in the next 6 months, spend $1,000 with you, if you have a 50% margin, let's say that as long as you spend less than $500, you'll be profitable. Not very many people will spend up to $500 to acquire a customer, but you can. Okay, so that is, again, something to think about. There were a few things we did to get repeat customers, and I want to walk you through it. So let's talk about this brand here for repeat customers. I want to kind of show you here, right? So we have 52% repeat customers. Again, let's compare, previous year, we can go previous period. This brand is actually down. Again, started about a year and 12, 14 months ago. Okay, previous period, let's do last 30 days. Okay, so down 40%. This is also a brand, like I said, I want to focus on the returning customer rate, 66%, super high. This brand was still able to make $1 million because they had great loyal customers, and during the holiday season they like to check out a little bit. They did some live selling, they sell online, and honestly they like to just spend time with family for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and they step back. So their sales obviously took a hit from that. Now this month they're kind of bounced back, and it will go back down again for Christmas and New Year's. But my point is, they have such a great returning customer rate that the business still continues to stay afloat. Right here it says returning customer rate is actually down 3% when 66% of the customers were coming back. Now, is this too high? Absolutely. But it works for this business and it works for this brand. We want to even out these numbers a little bit more. I'd like this to be closer to like 50 or 45% for this brand. But it works, and it works really well because they know that their average customer, the lifetime value for this customer is well over $500 for this clothing brand, for this clothing boutique rather. $500 in about a 6-month period. In 12 months, it's actually a little bit higher. I don't like to go farther out than that, but in 6 months of cash collected, it is well over $500. There are a couple of things that we did to get people to come back and buy again and again. The first one is using a tool called comment sold or live selling, basically just like this with video, but doing it live on whether it's like TikTok Shop or on the platform comment sold where you have a phone and an app and you go live on it. That is an option, but they are able to create relationships with people who come back and buy again. They're able to talk about the products. They're able to tell you about the fit, what you should be wearing it with, what you should be styling. So that's route number one. Route number two they did was email and SMS, and they did non-traditional email and SMS. It's more blog style with some pictures inside of an email. Again, it works. It can work for you. Most emails are sales emails and have great images, right? If you're copying like the Pink Lilies of the world, it's never really like, it's not a lot of text. This brand does the opposite. And so it just goes to show that if you create a brand with great storytelling and the right messaging, it can work. Same thing for text messages. I tell them to send out 3 emails a week, 2 texts a week at minimum. We're not anywhere close to that on the text. Maybe we'll send out 1 every couple of weeks, but it still works for them. They're super valuable. Some non-traditional things that they do is they use a tool called retention.com. Go check it out. I think there's actually a link in the description you can use to get some kind of deal, maybe. But if not, I'll try to find one for you guys. But retention, if you're driving 10,000 plus people to your site per month, it makes sense. It collects all the email addresses for people who went to your site but you didn't collect the data. And this goes for our US customers, sorry. Anywhere else around the world, there may be a little bit different of a clause, but if you're in the US or you sell in the US, retention.com, go check them out. Like I said, it is a game changer. We're on average getting a 6x return across all of the accounts we're using it for. So for every dollar we spend, we make $6 in return, on top of the fact that it's a very low cost to collect those email addresses and nurture that relationship. And that's the first time purchase, not to mention our lifetime value, which gets people to come back again. And then the third thing that we're doing is using software called Postpilot. You guys can use Postpilot or something similar, but just going a more traditional route and getting a postcard in the mail connects with Klaviyo. Basically anybody who adds to cart or initiates checkout or does anything like that, if the average order value is high enough, you can then send out a postcard to get people to actually make that purchase. So it's combining online and offline together and really kind of marrying the two of them to make a really good relationship. And so if you do all of these things, you'll get customers to come back. You got to take care of them with great shipping and packaging and all of those things and good customer experience. But if you do those things correctly and get them to come back, your return customer rate could be 66%, which don't want it to be that high, but you do want it to be a higher number. And that's going to allow you to add profit in the business and allow you to go after new customers. And it just compounds, right? Then you go back to kind of step one, what I said, where you're driving more traffic. But more traditional routes, we are obviously doing Facebook ads and we're hitting them with a broad audience. Again, a little bit more about the ad side of things later, but we are hitting people retargeting wise through our broad targeting that does the retargeting for us. And then like I mentioned, email, SMS, retention, postcards, all things that are driving actual sales for repeat customers here. Do not diversify when you can get the same results by going deeper. Hold up just one second. I just wanted to say that if you are a clothing brand owner and you want to jump into the specifics of your brand and how to grow up profitably online, you can schedule a free 45-minute strategy session with us. There are limited spots, so go find a time now. Check out the link in the description down below. Okay, so this brand has hit $1 million in 8 months because they did one thing very, very well, and that was content creation. So a couple of things that happened here. In those 8 months, because they did one thing really, really well, which was content creation and ads to the right people, it's duplicatable for those of you who ride this wave on here. Okay, so the problem most people have is that this brand started in January of 2023, and for 5 months, it did absolutely nothing. Life got in the way. Kids, family, other job. Some of you guys are doing this part-time, trying to make it full-time. And so all of these things got in the way. And what I see a lot happen whenever people join our program, so we have a program for clothing brands to get them to their first $1 million a year and scale beyond that. But we get people into the program and they're like,
wait, in 30 days, I haven't made my $1 million yet.
It's like, well, no, you haven't, right? It's because you have to build a foundation. But this guy worked hard for 5 months to figure out the messaging, the right offer, to test ads, and even all of those things they quote unquote failed. But what he did was he learned from them, then eventually created the right offer to the right person, and then put money behind it to scale it up, which you can do as well. But so many people stop before they see the results because they think that it's going to happen faster. But if you think about it in a long enough time horizon and say, look, I'm going to look at this for 5 years, you're going to be much more successful. So many people get desperate and like, I can't wait that long. And that's fine. You just won't build a 7-figure brand because the chances of you making it happen overnight or in a couple of months is very, very rare. But in a 12-month period, right? That's why we have our Ozo program is 12 months, or the access to it is 12 months, is because in that time horizon, we can get you to that level. But in 30 days, it's very difficult. Talk to anybody or an expert or guru on the internet. If they can make it happen in 30 days, then go jump aboard. But I promise you, it is a get-rich-quick type scheme that sounds too good to be true. This guy believed that that was actually inaccurate. He said, okay, I'm gonna figure out a way to build this brand, to make it possible, and for 5 months just kind of grinded it out, testing things, creating content, etc., and then finally found something that worked. Found a winning ad combination, and to this day, this ad is still running right now, spending thousands of dollars a day, okay? We did not start there. We started at like $20 a day. $50 a day, $100 a day. And maybe that's the unlock, maybe that's the secret, is that you should spend as much as humanly possible, and you should. But the point is that if you know your numbers and you're profitable, then you can spend more and you reinvest in the business. I mean, I know you guys have heard that before, right? Reinvest back into the business, because I'll show you a couple of things that I think are important, right? Number one, the returning customer rate, extremely low, way below 10%. Right? There's no email, there's no SMS, there's nothing happening here. This is all new acquisition. The business is growing like crazy because it figured out the right combination. And for us, there's 5 things to do to make you successful, right? Website, traffic, profit, customer experience, and then it's just a really good organic branding strategy. And he figured out a couple of them and made it work. Conversion rate is good. Average order value is good. I'd love it to be about 75, 80 bucks. It's above that. Returning customer conversion rate is close to 3%. We like to be between 1.5% to 3% for clothing brands. It can be higher, but really like around that range is a nice, good sweet spot. And the returning customer rate, I want it to be like 40%. This is way below that, but he's still continuing to grow because, and I won't share too much, but like the products that are being shown here, it's like an 80-20. Most of the products being sold are like 5 of them, and he just continues to sell them over and over and over again and just spends more money on them. What I will tell you is that the more that you spend on Facebook, the better that it gets, the more data that it has, it will be more successful. Do you need to have thousands of dollars a month to spend on ads, or tens of thousands or $50,000 a month to make these ads work? No. But you do need to have a plan and strategy in place that you put in the time for the next 4 or 5 months to 3 months or whatever it is, a long enough time horizon to get some success so that you can double down on it, whether it's organically, posting more, or putting a little bit of dollars behind it where you become profitable so you can invest back in the business and just keep reiterating what's already working. And so this is classic example of somebody, like I said, in 5 months from May, and really it's actually the last part of May, so you could probably say June, from June to December, grew a 7-figure brand. Is it normal? Absolutely not. But it's not normal because so many people look all over the place to try to find an answer versus diving deep onto one of them. So these brands all hit $1 million years, and you can too, but they also had a big traffic source to drive that revenue. All right, so I mentioned about the ads and the traffic, and that is the next piece of this puzzle. And for this video to not be 50 minutes long, I created a video on exactly what you need to do with Instagram ads, step by step of exactly what you need to do to make Instagram ads work for your clothing brand. So go watch this video right here next. If you guys have any questions, just drop a comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next video, and au revoir. Oh, P.S. make sure you subscribe.